Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Disney Dining Show. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, Mr. Sean Falk.
Hi.
Mr. Charles Boda.
Hello.
Mr. Steve Porter.
Hello.
And back in the production nook, although not on camera, is our producer, Mr. Craig Williams. So this week, we're going to do a review of a restaurant we have been talking about quite a bit. It's been a while since I've done it. I think for Charles and for Sean, this was the first. And for Steve?
It was my first, yeah.
Okay, so I was the only one that had actually been there before. I'm speaking of Sanaa, the restaurant located at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge over in the Kidani Village area, which is the Disney Vacation Club portion of Animal Kingdom Lodge. But before we get into it, let's go ahead and take a look at our experience during our lunch. Hey everybody, we are here at Sanaa. We have been talking about this restaurant so much on the show, and it's been a while since I've been here, so I thought it'd be cool to come and do a review. And of course, no review of Sanaa is complete without a look at the bread service, so let's check that out. Okay, so the bread service consists of 5 different types of bread. I can't pronounce most of these, but just different types of naan-breads and things like that, along with 9 different relishes, salsas, or whatever you want to call them, that you can dip the bread in. You can do a choice of 5 breads and 3 accompaniments for $13, or do it with all 9 accompaniments for $15. Absolutely worth it to do all 9. You get a really nice selection of different sauces for this bread. Best bread service of any restaurant anywhere ever. It is so good. What did you guys think?
Charles?
I loved it. Now, I don't know if I could get away with this if I came back, but going on that old rule of could this appetizer serve as a meal, if I had spent the $15 for this and then just sat and eaten piece after piece of bread, I would be happy and content with it. Everything was delicious. The only thing is, a lot of it is the fun of trying different things one after another. This type of bread with this type of relish and going back and forth, because you've got 5 pieces of bread and then 9 types of different sauces and relish and stuff like that. So I can barely remember the names of them, and I won't remember the names of them after I leave, but I'll just remember having a really good, really fun experience. And if you've got a group of people kind of talking about which one's your favorite and which one's the best, is a really neat little food bonding experience. So I loved it, and I will do it every single time I have the opportunity.
Okay. I really like the bread service. I think it's great because I don't like this type of food. This is, I think I've said a few times on the show, I don't care for Indian food, and I don't like a lot of tabules and chickpeas and lentils and stuff. So I probably wouldn't be here, on my own accord, but it is a thing where if you were with your group and they love this kind of food and you went with them, the bread service would be a really good way to go, because I found at least 4 or 5 of the sauces that I was able to eat and enjoy along with the actual bread service. It was a lot of them were spicy, but there was a lot of bland ones too that I was like, okay, cool, this doesn't have whatever spices they've come up with put in these things. So there's something for everyone, at least with the bread service meal, if you've come here as a fan, or if you come here as somebody that's this food is sketchy and I don't want it. So, but it was really good.
So overall, I kind of agree with Charles. It's kind of like an experience, and it's a conversation starter. So I would definitely get this every time I come, especially if I'm with people to, all try it and talk about it, and it gets the conversation starter for the entire meal going forward. So I just think it's a perfect way to come to this restaurant, try something new, and experience it as a group. So I think he was right on with that.
Okay, so for my appetizer, I had I think they're pronounced Boer Wars and spiced eggs. This is a traditional South African sausage, curry spiced eggs, and Cape Malay onion salad for $10. This was okay. There was nothing really exceptional about it. There was nothing exceptional about the taste or the flavors or anything. It was actually, I found it on the bland side. I wouldn't say it was bad. It's just not something I would probably order again.
All right, my appetizer, I had the shrimp tanashi. It was shrimp with seasonal pap and gnocchi, which gnocchi apparently is like a pumpkin puree, and it was very spicy. The pumpkin puree was super spicy. The shrimp was really spicy. The white, it was kind of like a mashed potato oat thing that was on the bottom was very bland. So like, but even still, like the spicy really overpowered that. I hated it, but it's just not my thing. Like it was well made and well cooked. It's just not, it's not for me. So.
Okay, for my appetizer, I had the lamb kefka skewers, which are lamb skewers with Tunisian couscous salad and pepperdew goat cheese, and that will run you $15 and is totally worth it. The lamb had like a really cool texture. It was like kind of like a ground lamb. When Sean tried it, he mentioned it almost had like a meatball texture to it, like a firm outside, but like a nice finely ground inside kind of feel to it. Delicious, 100%, hands down, just very, very happy with it. If you like lamb, that's the only qualification you have to meet to thoroughly enjoy this appetizer. So if you like lamb, give it a shot.
Okay, so I got the salad sampler for $8. It's actually 3 little separate salads. There's a chickpea cucumber tomato salad, a watermelon cucumber salad, and a Nigerian root vegetable and citrus salad. Overall, I thought I was really expecting to like the watermelon cucumber salad, but there was almost like a vinegar, pour over it that it gave the whole dish a vinegary taste that I didn't really enjoy. And I actually really did like the chickpea cucumber tomato salad as my favorite. It was really refreshing, and I would get that again. I was not expecting to like it, but it was great.
Okay, so for my main course, I had the Tandoori Chicken. This is done in their tandoor oven, which I guess is a good thing. Roasted chicken with rocket, which is arugula, pickled onions, tomato, and a sambal mayonnaise, $17. This, I'm not overselling this when I say it is one of the best chicken dishes, if not the best chicken dish I have had in years. Absolutely phenomenal. Perfect for lunch. It was like a really great chicken sandwich because it's done on a piece of that with naan bread, but you don't eat it like a sandwich. You eat it with a fork and a knife. Absolutely spectacular. I cannot tell you how good this was. I may actually order another one to go so I can have it again later. I said, you know what? It's exactly what I'm going to do. It was so good.
Okay. For my entree, there's a section called Pakji inspired. So you pick a journey and a harvest, which is like any combination of a meat and a vegetable combination that you want. I chose the buttered chicken. It was actually really good. It wasn't spicy at all. It was really tender chicken. It wasn't as good as Pete's dish, but it was good. For the harvest, I didn't like any of the options as far as sides went, so I got aloo masala, which the man told me was going to be potato soup. It was not what I thought potato soup was going to be. I picture like Irish potato leek soup. It was more like a stew, so it was like hunks of potato with like peas and carrots and stuff, and that is also not my thing. So it was just a lot of stuff that wasn't for me. But if you like this kind of food, you'd like anything at this restaurant, I think. So everything was physically well cooked. So.
All right, for my entree, I got the mishkaki, which is a gray beef tenderloin tips in fragrant ginger marinade with Kenyan mukimo and braised greens. I didn't even look at the description. I just thought the name sounded cool, and everybody else had already picked what they were ordering. I was pleasantly surprised. In fact, at this point, it's 3 for 3 on meals I've had here. courses that I've had here. The braised beef, I asked them to cook it extra rare because that's how I like it. It came out perfectly. They did rare correctly, and it was tender, it was perfect, it was just great. And it went perfectly with the ginger marinade. And the braised greens were also really, really cool. If you like greens and you're used to having them in southern cooking and you kind of wonder what the braised greens will be like with different seasonings, more Indian seasonings, try this out. You are not going to regret it. If you like greens, you will love this. But it adds like a little unique twist onto it. All in all, I thought it was phenomenal. It ended up running $22, and I would pay $22 for this any day of the week. It was absolutely great. So, so far, Sanaa is doing a really great job of keeping me satisfied. And with what I've had, if they can just manage an even mediocre dessert, I'm calling this restaurant a win. So, very pleased to try out the mishkaki.
Okay, so I had the Kenyan coffee barbecue sandwich for $16. It's essentially a pulled pork sandwich. I really loved the flavor. It was a great sandwich. The barbecue sauce really let the meat come through, and I really enjoyed that. My only gripe with it was the presentation of it. Kind of looked like a Hot Pocket, and it was a really small sample size. It was literally the size of a Hot Pocket, so I didn't enjoy that, because if I had not had the appetizer, I probably would have left pretty hungry. So I would recommend not just getting this entree alone. But other than that, I like the flavor and I like the dish, so I'd probably get it again with the idea of knowing that I have to get an appetizer.
Okay, so for dessert, I got the Spice Trade candy bar. This is coconut, apricot, caramel, and cashew coated milk chocolate, topped with a chai cream, pistachio crumble, and an apricot something or other. This is basically a homemade candy bar with coconut, apricot, caramel, and cashews. And I'm telling you right now, it's unbelievable. This was $8. This would have been unbelievable at $15. It was so good, really creative, not something that you normally see on a restaurant dessert menu, but I gotta tell you, it was phenomenal. Best dessert I've had in a restaurant in a long time.
Okay. I got the Latique cream. It's a Madagascar vanilla bean custard with strawberries, lemon comfy, and caramel in it. It also had blueberries. It was amazing. It was so good. It was such a good flavor. It was really light. So it's one of those things where you kind of want dessert, but you don't really want to commit to like dark chocolate or anything. Usually I'm like a chocolate lover. That's what I'm always going to get. So I'm shocked that I picked this, and I'm also surprised at how much I liked it because it didn't have chocolate in it. But it was amazing. I would get this again all day. So.
Okay, so for dessert, I got the chocolate orange tart, which is blood orange cremeux, chocolate mousse, candy, blueberries, and orange gel for $6. And it was pretty awesome. The orangeness, I think, is overtaken a bit by the chocolatiness, and not necessarily in a bad way. It's not like overly sweet or anything. It tastes like orange, but it's not, I wouldn't call it an orange dessert. I call it a chocolate dessert with like some orange flavoring in there. And each bite you take, make sure to get one of like the candy blueberries in with the chocolate bite. That's what really, really makes it. But I thought it was great. I'd said previously that as long as they had a mediocre dessert, that I would call this restaurant a win, and it was much better than mediocre. It was a great dessert, and I'm not a dessert guy per se. So all in all, I thought it was phenomenal. And another thing is, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I have it every single time we get dessert at any place that offers it, is Joffrey's Press Pot Coffee, which goes great with any of the desserts we have. It's great coffee, and I just feel like I take it for granted and never mention it. So there you have it. If you like coffee, get some Joffrey's Press Pot Coffee for dessert. That's my pitch.
Okay, I got the African Triple Mousse for $8. This is basically a bunch of different layers of different chocolate mousses. That's correct, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was really good, and I want to finish it, but I'm just so full from all the different food that we had today that I don't know if I can finish this. So if anyone else wants to, Charles, there you go. You like it? Yeah, so Charles likes it too. It's really good. I would recommend it. I'm just so full. But overall, I would pick this next time.
All right. So, a couple things you can tell from that video. First of all, it's very loud.
Yeah, it's like a big cave kind of, and
Yeah.
all the noise echoes in there. They need booths that like can break it up a
Or
little.
soundproofing. The other thing you'll notice is that there was this guy at a table near us who was one of those loud talkers. So even like if he's having a conversation with somebody across from him, it's like decibels above what a normal person would do. And he's also apparently the product of a relationship between a billy goat and a machine gun, because everything that was said, and he laughed, it was ah. And so you could hear that in the back. And at one point, I seriously was going to get up and like walk over and go, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but can you shut the F up, please? Because you're really annoying me with your laugh. But
He was having a great time.
well, good for him.
He laughed a lot.
He needs to have a great time somewhere else with that laugh. How he's gotten that far in his life without somebody saying, God, you're obnoxious. But overall, I will tell you, with the exception of my appetizer, which I said was, just kind of okay, that was an amazing meal. I mean, well beyond what you normally find at Disney. It is, as Sean pointed out, it's more on the exotic side. It's that Indian-inspired African flavors. So if you don't like curries, if you don't like some of those spices that are traditionally used in those dishes, this is probably not a great match for you. But that being said, I think you even found some of it you really like.
Yeah, I actually I have a couple friends in town right now, and one or two of them are really big Indian food fans, and then one of them had lived in India a few years. So for their sake, I'm like suggested the restaurant now, even though I know it's not necessarily my thing. But I am at least excited because I know I like the bread, the starter bread, and there is enough that like I tried of everyone else's that I can get something there, and it wasn't like so off-putting that I just wouldn't return with people. I care enough about them to take them somewhere they'd like compared to, it's not my choice, but it's just not my choice of food. So
Right. So what about you guys?
Well, I actually kind of wonder, because of how great Animal Kingdom Lodge restaurants are, whether it's the exoticness that gives them the ability to really spread their wings creatively. Because it's Indian and African based and everything like that. But I mean, they get very creative. Like the candy bar dessert you had.
That was amazing.
That's absolutely ridiculous. I wish I could get that everywhere. But the setting. I wanted to, earlier in the day, I was thinking about it, and I wanted to take off some marks because of the open air stuff, which is true. But also, as you'll notice from the video, like, there are animals just walking up if you're seated near the glass.
Yeah,
and
you
that
got
was pretty
photobombed.
amazing. I got photobombed by a bird. You could see zebras through there. So if you're sitting near the glass and everything, the environment is really, really nice to sit there and enjoy a meal. And the food was obviously amazing.
Yeah, the food was delicious. I definitely want to go again to try some different things. The only thing that's in the back of my head, though, is that this is constantly at the top of the list for all these different top lists that we make, whether it's places you have to go or try or do or whatever. And I think that for me personally, it was a titch over. Like, I had higher expectations, but I still really enjoyed it. So I'm not saying it's bad. It was excellent. But I thought it was going to be better than like Chico because of how much I had it built up in my head. Mm-hmm. So I was walking into it unfairly.
Well, it's also not a fair comparison because Chico only does dinner, so you'd really need to go and experience dinner at Sanaa.
That's true.
This was the lunch menu that we had, so I don't know that you can take what we had for lunch, a pulled pork sandwich, and compare it to the dinner menu at Chico.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's true.
It is, what is consistent here is now, every dining venue at Animal Kingdom Lodge is outstanding.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Chico, Boma, the Mara, their food court, basically, and Sanaa, all exceptional dining experiences. I've said it many times before that whoever's running food and beverage over at that resort really knows what he or she is doing. Incredible.
I also think they do an excellent job at all of those restaurants of going to what Charles says is they can get creative and do unique items. But I also think that people that have bland taste buds and like hot dogs and hamburgers can still find things here, or things that they can maybe step outside their box a little bit, but it's not so exotic that they're gonna, hate it. I think it offers, it's like kind of a baby step into trying something even more unique.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's great. I mean, it's not like, monkey brains or something like on the menus or anything over here. But even I will say actually with my dessert too, especially I haven't. That is something I usually don't order dessert at restaurants. I am a dessert person, but like at home because I'm usually just too full by the end of a meal and stuff. Yeah. But that was so good and like refreshing after the meal and all that. Like I would get that anywhere I went as far as the dessert went. Like it was not heavy. That's one of those where I'd go out of the way and be like, okay, thinking in the back of my mind like I'm gonna get a dessert here, which doesn't seem like a restaurant you would go out of your way to get dessert at, but they were all really good.
I kind of have a question for everyone. Okay. For the value of each of the Animal Kingdom Resort restaurants, for the value, which one do you think is the best?
You mean value for price paid?
Value for yes.
I mean, personally, I haven't done Boma, so that's the only throw for me is that because it's a buffet, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, on my own, I would say Jico, just because it's something where I'm always so satisfied after I leave. I really don't have to eat again, even though it's more expensive, I guess. I think I could probably eat there early dinner by like 5 and I wouldn't get hungry again for the rest of the night kind of thing. So that would sustain me. So
it's tough to say because they all have their strengths. Value for dollar spent. It's going to come down to Boma and Sanaa, and I think I probably give the nod to Boma.
Okay.
Just because of the ridiculous selection.
Oh, it's huge.
Of foods on that buffet, and the and they do a great job there of. I don't want to spend too much time on Boma, but they do a great job there of having that authentic stuff, but also having stuff that's familiar comfort food to Americans. And in terms of it, because, when we get down to it, this was an outstanding meal. But for 4 adults to have lunch with no alcohol, now we had appetizers, main courses, and desserts. 4 adults for lunch, no alcohol, with my 20% discount for tables in Wonderland, this was still $200. So $50 a person, which is more consistent with what I expect at dinner than lunch. Now, that being said, I was so satisfied coming out of that, I did not have dinner that night.
Right.
I was able just to nosh a little bit and still, went to bed feeling good.
Yeah.
So, it is definitely, you're paying for it. Mm-hmm. Then again, because we're reviewing it, we ate a lot of food.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But 2 questions. Number 1, is this restaurant worth going out of your way? If you're not staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, you're staying somewhere else, off-site or at another Disney resort, is this restaurant worth going out of your way to experience? Sean?
I actually would say yes, despite my thing about the food. I would say yes just because, actually, I'm torn because I have my own car and can drive over there. Yeah. Having to wait on the bus to go all the way to Animal Kingdom Lodge and then get on the...
Or you could Uber.
You could Uber or Minnie Mouse car or whatever it's called. But like that kind of thing. So there's different options to get there. So it would take a long time to get over there and go to the restaurant. But I actually do think it's worth it because... it's so hard to find things in the Disney property that's not burgers, fries, chicken nuggets kind of thing. I mean, if this is a distinct thing where you're like, I want to try something and this is the type of food I love, like, yeah, it's definitely worth going to just to get a break from what's in Magic Kingdom kind of thing. So,
Charles?
Certainly. Once again, with most of the Animal Kingdom Lodge eateries or restaurants, I think that they're different enough to where it warrants its own trip out there. And when it comes to, we did lunch, we didn't do dinner, but there's nothing that says that dinner has to be your big meal for that day.
True.
So I would plan around going there for lunch again if I had the option, and then doing something smaller for dinner. Sometimes time-wise, that even works out best if you've got a group of people that you're meeting. But it's totally worth going out of your way for this.
Steve?
I would say it depends for me on how long you're going to be here. So if it's like a week, sure, I would go out of my way for it. If it's a long weekend, I wouldn't waste a park day if you're only here for a long weekend to go out there. But that being said, it's an excellent restaurant. So if you have the time, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, I feel like it is. It is worth going out of your way to head over there, especially because, once you're over there, you're at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and there's a lot to see. There's a lot to see over in Kidani Village, which is where the restaurant is located. There's a lot to see over in Jumbo House, which is the main hotel area. The savannas, the artwork, the whole, the whole atmosphere and environment. I mean, it can be an evening destination into and of itself. Scale of 1 to 10, Sean, what are you giving this restaurant?
I'm gonna say 7 to just kind of cut the middle of like food quality versus my own personal taste. So it'd be lower if it wasn't as good of food. It'd be higher if I liked Indian food. So
Okay, Charles.
I'm going to give it a solid 9. It gets 1 point deduction because depending on where you're sitting, especially if you're in the middle, and it it echoes a bit. If you're sitting towards the glass, you get the animals. If you're sitting in the middle, you get the echo, but you don't get the animals. So just for the way it's arranged, I'd take a point off. But everything else, yeah, I was incredibly pleased with there, and I'm looking forward to going again next time.
Steve?
I'll say 8.5 for the same reasons kind of that Charles was saying. The environment of it being so loud in there and kind of echoey was, not great, but the food was excellent. So 8.5 for me.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 9. It was just the service, the food, everything was outstanding. I agree. Cavernous, kind of loud, but I'm not going to ding them really for that. Because you're going to the restaurant, it's about the food and the service. And, we say all the time that, there are places at Disney World where, in deference to the experience, Disney really cheapens on the food, where the food isn't that good. Hollywood and Vine over in Hollywood Studios is a great example, where you're getting this character experience and the price you really pay is that the food isn't very good. Here you're getting this experience where you have the animals and everything, and the whole environment that you're in, and the food is just superb. So I really think, all things considered, that the popularity of this restaurant is deserved. It's not overrated on any level. So we have 2 9s, a 7 and a 7 and an 8.5.
I will say also, I think the only other thing with it, like, it did end up being $200, which would really scare me off if I was just watching the video or just kind of like skipping through here. Somebody had told me like we spent $200 between 4 people, but I mean, most people that go are not going to get the bread appetizer and then each person get their own appetizer and everyone get their own dessert, and it's just not. I mean, we probably could have knocked $100 off this thing, just not
quite 100,
maybe 80 something, but by not getting, if we got one dessert to share and then all shared the bread like a norm, that's how a normal group would do.
I would expect normal, if you're going to do like the bread service, main course, dessert sort of thing, expect about $35 a person without alcohol. For this. But so there you have it. That is our review of Sanaa over at Animal Kingdom Lodge. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you again next week with another episode of the Disney Dining Show. Have a great week, everybody.